Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your speaker, trainer and head coach from Live, Love, Give, and I cannot wait to share today's topic with you guys. It's one that has been on top of my mind probably for the last year, if not a lot longer than that. But it's all around the concept of love, and I love learning about love. So I am constantly, diving into incredible human beings' wisdom and perception and definitions around this concept, and I feel like I'm getting clearer and clearer in my own mind about what I believe love to be. And definitely reflecting back throughout my life and being potentially able to see how what I thought was love actually wasn't. And I think that this is kind of the evolution that each and every one of us hopefully gets to journey right through in terms of, our relationships, and not only our intimate relationships, but our family relationships, our friendships, anybody that we come into connection with in our lives. I think that it's really easy if you're somebody like me who just kind of like sees the potential and sees the good, and I see all the great stuff in other people when I first meet them, only to get down the track later on and find that they're both sides, and it's not just one-sided. And so today's message is really all about asking you guys whether you've been on either side of the in-love equation as opposed to love. And I'm going to dive into a couple of different definitions and what I'm really talking about. But I ultimately really want to ask you, in terms of your relationships, have you been somebody who was on this side of the equation, which is you see the potential in somebody and you fall in love with that person's potential. You see where they're going. You see what they could become and all of this stuff, and it's exciting, and you fall in love with this potential. Maybe you get into a relationship with this person, only to find later down the track that they may not live up to this potential that you've kind of projected onto them and had an expectation, albeit well-intentioned, because you see the good in this other person, but ultimately you've fallen in love, not with the person for who they really are, but for this one-sidedness. You've seen and fallen in love with where they're going, what they could be, and that falling in love somewhere down the track becomes falling out of love, because you no longer see that potential in them, because your expectations as to where they should be or who they could be they've kind of fallen short of those expectations. And so you find yourself falling out of love. And what I would really challenge you to see is that, were you really in love, or were you really experiencing the truth of love? And I'm going to really dive into and unpack this for you guys today, because I think it's really an eye-opener for each and every one of us. And I think that every single one of us who really values depth of connection and really getting to the depths of love, you're going to find this message really valuable. For all those who find this a bit scary and confronting, like perhaps I haven't ever actually experienced love, I challenge you to stay with me on this, because maybe you might have identified yourself on that side of the equation, or maybe you might have been more so identifying with the other side of the equation, where potentially you've felt like this other person that you wanted the love and approval of, might have had these expectations as to who you should be, your potential, and maybe you've tried really hard to live up to these expectations that this other person that you are in love with wants from you, and maybe you've fallen short, and maybe the relationship has ended. And so I do not like to really admit that I've been on absolutely both sides of this equation more times than I'd like to say, definitely. And I hope each and every one of you guys out there can absolutely pinpoint this in your own life. A couple of great examples for me are definitely in my intimate relationships. I can reflect back to my long-term relationships that I've had, and I can definitely see that I have fallen in love with this vision of this incredible person that I've seen, and I've seen what they're capable of. I've seen where they could go. My mind is projected into this amazing future with this person, and everything that they could become, and it's an exciting kind of awe-inspiring way of seeing another human being. But I have definitely got to the point in each one of those relationships where I have had that projection and expectation, albeit coming from this great place of, hey, I see your potential, I want to help you get there. But I've fallen in love with the potentiality of this human being rather than who they are right here, right now. And I've kind of been blinded to that because I've been so focused on that future projection. And that, I hate to admit, is not love. And so it kind of feels scary that you could spend years and years of your life with another human being and think that you are experiencing true love with this person, only to wake up and realize that potentially it hasn't been love, and it's been these in love kind of feelings that have been kind of mind created based on this fantasy as to one-sidedness of this individual rather than everything they truly really are. And so, and on the other side, I've definitely experienced, feeling like I need to live up to the expectations of what another person expects from me. And predominantly, I found that in my family. And so I lived majority of my life attempting to live up to this expectation of this projection of their ideal for my potential, and later down the track realized that, hey, that's not me, and having to kind of go against that expectation to ultimately get to a place of unconditional love by showing other people to love you for who you are and not who they project they'd want you to be. Albeit, again, from potentially like great places, great intent, but not real love, and only seeing one-sidedness and only projecting your model of the world onto another. So what I really wanted to share with you guys today is, again, you're not going to get sick of it, I hope, but Dr. John Demartini's definition of love is really the synthesis and synchronization of complementary opposites. Okay, so how that shows up, and he uses a great analogy that he shared in the breakthrough experience, which is if you were to picture a spinning top, and one side is black, one side is white, and when that spinning top is spinning at its highest frequency, that black and white, those separate sides, that you can't, they're unrecognizable in their separateness. You can only see gray, and this spinning top is spinning, it's stable, it's operating at its highest level of frequency and vibration. And ultimately he equates that to love, love being this highest frequency and vibration that we can be. And it is when those two complementary opposites, the black and the white, you can use that analogy, are synthesized and synchronized so that they become one, so that they become indistinguishable from the other side. But as we lower the frequency and the vibration, that top starts to slow down. We start to see the separateness. We start to see the black and white until gravity takes over and the top stops and we just see one-sidedness. It falls over, we just see the one side. And that's the lowest vibration, the lowest frequency, and ultimately we're operating a lot of that in our human existence. But, that analogy can sort of depict how, what love really is. It's that high vibration. It is stable. It is, it's spinning at that highest frequency where we just have oneness. We just have unity. We see and accept, we accept that both are one, both are working together, and that creates that unity and ability to vibrate at that highest frequency. Whereas, when the top is just stopped, You know, it's kind of useless at that low frequency, and we just see black and white. And that is what creates all of our pain and suffering. And it is where those in love, I'm just talking this out loud right now. So I hope this makes sense to you guys, because I like to talk things out to make sense within myself. So, you know, what I'm kind of seeing is that those in love feelings, you know, when we get infatuated with this person, is this separateness. We see only one side. We see only the good. We see only the potential of where this person is going, and we completely negate and try and cut off the other complementary opposites, you know, and this is what creates all that pain and suffering. You know, it's what creates these expectations that are never going to be met. You know, when we have this expectation of just one-sidedness, you're setting yourself and the other person up for complete failure, because it's not even possible to have all good without the bad. You know, it's not possible to just have one-sidedness. You know, and our lives project that. You know, whenever we try and just be one side, you know, we create and attract the other side to kind of humble us or wake us up to what's really going on. And one of the things that was actually said, which kind of shook me up at this breakthrough experience, was one of the people there was told that who had lost one of their family members, was told that you don't love that family member. And that was really disturbing to this person who's like, of course I love them, I miss them, I'm grieving for them. And it was kind of shocking, and that's why it kind of got me really focusing on going deep in this concept of love, and how DeMartini, you know, talks into it and researches and has wisdom around it. And it really shook me up to see this person who was grieving for this loved one be told such a horrific thing, like, you don't love that person, you know, and that on the surface level is you know, get somebody so defensive, you know, because of course they do. But what I'm seeing is, when you only see one-sidedness, you know, when you're grieving for another human being and you're grieving their loss because all you can see is this one-sidedness of them, you're discounting the truth of the full capacity, the complementary opposites of all of who they are. And that means that you're in love or infatuated with one side of who they are. And in actual fact, if you really want to get through the grieving process and you want to have immense love and see both sides, you have to get those complementary opposites in synchronization. And that's really the DeMartini method. And that's, as you guys know, is what I'm really immersing myself in right now, because it's kind of bringing science to what I thought to be an art, you know, and it's quite revolutionary. And I think that it makes so much sense. And I feel like if we can get this and we can bring realism to what's really going on and see the science behind the concept of love, then we can use it to our advantage to get to the truth of love and not get caught up in the fallacy of what we think to be love, but actually it's just one-sidedness, and it's falling in love with a fantasy and an infatuation of one-sidedness, and not the complementary opposites that make us up for all of who we are. And why this is so deep to me and so meaningful to me is because I always left relationships in my life because this idea in my mind was, I can't be all of who I am. And I was constantly searching for that person who would allow me to be all of who I am, not just put me up on a pedestal and see just good stuff, or definitely not put me in a pit. But if they were putting me in a pit, you know, then they wouldn't want to be in relationship with me. But to actually be loved for who I really am. And I think that on the deepest level is the yearning that every single human being has. Every single person on this planet just wants to be loved for the truth of who they are. You know, they don't want to have to pretend to be one-sided. And what holds us up a great deal is how we operate within the love for ourselves. You know, when we have these expectations and one-sidedness for giving ourselves love or approving or appreciating who we are. You know, we give ourselves reward for operating in one half of who we are and trying to get rid of the other half. And it's exactly why I am definitely not believing in positivity or, you know, avoiding negativity, because I'm absolutely realizing that we cannot have the positive without the negative. And to try and be one-sided is to negate the truth of reality and ultimately create a prison of suffering for ourselves. So what we really need to get to is that equilibrium of realizing that with every positive there's an equal negative that balances out, and it's a complementary opposite. And if we can get to that middle ground of accepting both sides and seeing both sides and synchronizing both sides, then we get to a state of true love and gratitude, and we get out of our fantasies and we get into reality. And that to me is freedom. That's authenticity. Authenticity is owning both sides. You know, we are all things, and I really hope that me talking all of this out has been helpful to you guys. It's definitely a journey that I'm on to filter everything through, hey, questioning, am I falling in love and infatuating, or am I getting to a place of true love to be able to allow another human being to be absolutely the full spectrum of who they are without my projections and expectations, and definitely, you know, giving them that opportunity to be all of who they are. I think that's the greatest gift that we have to give to another, and we can't do that, we can't give that gift until we're really giving that to ourselves. So the way we do that is owning both sides within ourselves, and that's what the DeMartini method is all about, and that's what a large piece of my work is all about, is ultimately looking at all of those people that you have resentments for and owning that you have every single thing, every single trait that you are resenting in that human being, you have it like I have it. And until we own those traits to the same degree, we'll never be free of our resentments that are only our own imprisonment. And the same thing happens when we infatuate about somebody. It's because we see within them these different traits that we're not owning within ourselves. And until we own those particular traits to the exact same degree, we won't be able to love another human being for who they are, and we'll be infatuating or we'll be resenting. And that to me is one-sidedness, it's low vibration, it's low frequency, and ultimately all of us desire to be those spinning tops at that highest frequency of true love and gratitude. And so hope that this isn't too out there, and I hope that how I've explained what I'm thinking about and what's most meaningful and valuable to me right now, I hope that it is of value to you. And I really hope that it's got you thinking about how you could actually get out of the in-love feelings and get to a true place of love by seeing both sides and removing your expectations and projections on another human being and allowing them to do the very thing that you most yearn for within yourself, which is to be loved for exactly who you are, all parts, the whole spectrum, without expectation and judgment. So definitely want to check in with you guys and see who's been able to join me. Make sure that you say hi, drop any comments or questions for me. You know how I love questions. And definitely I love engaging with you guys. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to fill in that form for me to make sure I know what's going on in your world, so that I can make sure that I am definitely tailoring these messages for you on the individual level, to make sure that I'm adding value to you. And I rely on you guys to let me know what's valuable to you, what you're struggling with, what you're challenged with, what you'd like a new perspective with, so that I can be adding more value. And definitely come on over and join us in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community if you haven't already. We'd love to have you a part of that growing community. Over 4,100 and something going on in there. Beautiful like minds. So definitely click on the links above and fill in that form, and definitely come and join us in the Limitless Potential. I want to check in with you guys. Let's see. So I've got Lisa and Judy and Alexandria and Sam and Jamie and Kaden and oh yeah, howdy to you, Alexandria. and Hassani's here, and Gokul, and Justin, and Amy, and David, and Stan. Thank you so much for that kind compliment. And Lisa, same to you. And Natalie's here, and Ryan, and Martin, and thanks, Caden. Looking majestic. I like that one. Haven't had that one before. And Nikki, and Melissa, and David, and Colin, and Edwin, and Cindy's here, and Sam. That's the healing I'm going through now, falling in love with potential and person and getting hurt so badly. Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't just hurt you to have your expectations not met. It hurts another individual to feel like they have to be somebody that they are not in order to be loved. You know, I know that experience all too well, and so I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I think that, you know, the greatest gift that we have to give to humanity and make a real difference and an impact is to accept and encourage, you know, not just accept, but actually encourage each and every one of us to show up authentically, real, the whole spectrum of who we are, and that will ultimately get us into, you know, true love and, you know, not having these expectations and feeling hurt because we're creating our own prisons. And every time we have those expectations for somebody to be somebody that they are not, including ourselves, we set ourselves up for failure because we can never ever win in that scenario, because we are all things. So getting to that place of love within yourself and giving others that same gift. I love that, Sam. Thank you so much for sharing. And Neil, to me, part of the love equation that I had to learn is the willingness to share their world with the other person. The takeaway was, even a year into the relationship, she never invited me over to her place or meet any of her friends. She had been over to my house and spent a day at the beach. Okay. Yes, definitely. So learn is the willingness to share their world with another person. Yeah. I think so too, you know, but a lot of us can get caught up in this fear and this fallacy of losing our individuality when we come into relationship. And so there's many different things that are going on with that separateness. You know, whenever we're spinning at that slow vibration and we're seeing two sides and we're feeling this separation and lack of unity, then we get into our fears. That's where fears reside. But it's when we can up-level that and we can find and see our similarities, our oneness, our unity, and realize that, you know, there is no such thing as really that separateness and losing our individuality. We are unique human beings, but we are all connected. And definitely I think that so many of our fears are brought up in our intimate relationships, and we need to let people, wherever they are in their level of consciousness, be who they are, and just keep showing up and just showing our love and not holding back. You know, I think that that's the biggest, you know, breakdown in relationship is when we hold back, particularly when we hold back our truth and we don't just love fully and allow ourselves to love fully. So yeah, I get what you're sort of saying there, Neil, and I think that we just need to, you know, as Gandhi would say, we need to be the change we wish to see in the world, just as we need to be the change we wish to see in our relationships. And, you know, communicate, you know, work out what somebody is afraid of, why they do what they do, and love them enough to have the conversation, even if it's difficult, and get to know what their perspective is and your perspective as well. That's part of a loving relationship. So I love that, Neil. Thank you for sharing. And Kadek and Wayan and Yezid and Lisa, yes, me too. It is scary when you lose years of your life waiting around. Yeah, so this is a challenge that I'll make a generalization here. Mostly it's women who see this potential in a partner and they give it so much time and time, but they're not really loving the man for all of who they are right here, right now. They fall in love with the potential, and it's usually the man who's trying to, you know, meet the expectations of the woman, and again they're blocking real love and connection because they're both kind of working toward these, trying to match these in love sort of feelings and keep that alive, but they never can in the long run, because it's just one-sidedness, you know. That in love feeling might feel really good, but eventually you wake up to the fact that there's two sides and there's not just one side, and you've just been living in a fantasy of this projection of what could be, but you've been discounting and trying to separate from all that actually is. And so, yeah, I definitely resonate with that, Lisa, and thanks so much for sharing. And Ramon's here, and absolutely, Jamie, love is source. I love it. And Gary, been there, done that, learned not to do that, get clear on reality, but emotions can fool a person. Best to approach emotional things of love in non-emotional ways. Yeah, well, I'm actually seeing that in love is full of emotion, and love is actually a state of reality. And it's by being like, I love DeMartini's definition of this. It's quite scientific, but he explains it so well. And it's really the synthesis and synchronization of complementary opposites. Those opposites are emotions, right? So you can't have happiness without sadness. You know, you can't have, all those opposing different traits. You know, we are all things. And when we realize that we are both, that's when we get to a state of kind of this peace and this love. So hope that is helpful. And Ali's here, and I love that you want to listen. That's awesome. And Kaden, I'm loving that this is an amazing message for you. And Kim from North Carolina, I love it. And Darren and Kim, I think one must be selfless than selfish to love. Yeah, I mean, it must be selfless and then selfish to love. Yeah, so yeah, I think that once we, if we're just selfish, we're just focusing on one-sidedness of what we want, and we're not identifying what this other person is really all about and what they really want. We fall in love with this selfish vision of them in our own minds because we want to be in relationship with them and work towards this future that we have in mind, rather than allowing a person to be all of who they are. So definitely. And Maddie, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thanks for being here. And must be selfless than selfish. Yep. Got it, Kim. And Miritesh and Tim, thank you once again for your message on love. I don't know how I feel about love. I am still feeling the effects of getting involved with someone on Facebook last year who turned out to be a romance scam, and I unfortunately got fooled and lost. Oh, I think it just cut off your last bit there. But I'm sorry that happened for you, Tim. You know, there's a lot of those sort of scams and things out there, and they, focus on people who really yearn for that love and connection. But what I would say to you is that we need to be able to fill ourselves up. That void that all of us have experienced at some stage, or we're currently feeling right now in our lives, where we yearn for this love, this person to come into our lives and think that it's just going to make everything better and good. What I've really learned coming from that past is that, where I am right now in my life is absolutely the happiest, most fulfilled I've ever been in my life. And I don't have a partner, and I'm finding that when I reflect back on my past self, I find that kind of crazy concept to even fathom, for my past self, because my past self was always searching for that person or needing that other person in my life to kind of fill that void that only I could truly fulfill. And so what I would say to you, Tim, is that, we all have these times in our lives where we're hurt by what we perceive as love, but love does not hurt. We're getting infatuated and we're thinking that we need the other side to bring us back into balance, but actually we need to do that within ourselves. And I know we've all heard this, and I know it's kind of wishy-washy. Oh, you got to love yourself or have self-love and all of this stuff. But I really do believe that the more we can realize that we get infatuated with other people and we want so badly for them to be in our lives, for that to be kind of a wake-up call to each and every one of us to go, all right, wait a minute. What is it that I feel like I'm missing in my life, within myself? And how do I go on that journey of discovering what that is, owning it within myself, building myself up so that ultimately somebody else can come into my life who enhances it, but I'm not reliant on them to fill a void that only I can truly fulfill. And I think until we get to that place, we're never going to actually experience love, and we're always going to be trapped in this game of loss and gain and feeling like we could lose them, or, you know, and this separation, this fear, this anxiety, which creates this attachment, which is not the truth of what love is. So we'll always attract into our life something that will help to wake us up and bring us back into equilibrium and into balance. And if we're attracting people in our lives who are taking advantage of us, then ultimately we need to look at ourselves and look how we're getting tied up in that, and what's the lesson to be learnt here. What work do I need to do on myself to fill myself up so that I'm not reliant and falling trapped to the victimization that other people can bring into my life. And in fact, I'm becoming a whole rounded out individual who loves my own company. But I'm definitely open to another beautiful human being who is also in love with their company, or has love in their own company, to come in and enhance my life. And that is where we get to a place of true love with another human being. So thank you for sharing there, Tim. And Sam's here. Now my love is fluid in high and low vibes, in flow of on what is as love moves and touches vulnerability and authenticity as mirroring. Absolutely. You know, we need, absolutely, you can't have the depths of love without those two things that you just mentioned, Sam, vulnerability and authenticity. I really do believe that operating truly vulnerably and authentically, probably the strongest person in the world would have those two qualities. Their ability to be absolutely vulnerable and absolutely authentic. And I think that they are the most courageous acts or states of being that any of us can show up in. And if we ever want to experience the depths of love, we absolutely need both of those. You cannot experience love without vulnerability or authenticity. You know, you might experience those feelings of being in love and infatuated and excited, but it's only going to be short-lived. So I love hearing more about your journey, Sam, as always. And Vicky's here, and Melinda, and Jose, and Jamie. Our words and minds are powerful enough to create and destroy. Falling in love with yourself is key to loving others without draining your energy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because until you can recognize and synthesize both sides within yourself, you're not going to be able to accept and love that within another human being. And that's ultimately what love is being able to see both sides. It's unconditional, you know, it is loving the whole, not just one-sidedness. So absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Jamie. And Ramon, in a relationship, this is how it's going to get better. Looking at both sides, being authentic to each other. Absolutely, you're getting it. I love that, Ramon. And Ram's here, and Caden. I believe a commercialized idea of romance is catered to devaluing authenticity and mustering up superficial moments to validate a false perception of self-worth. Wow. Boom. You wordsmith, you. It's never worth it to be so emotionally entertaining because reality is often the casualty. Wow. Yes, absolutely, Caden. And this is why one of my biggest pet hates is single people playing this game of relationship. It's just, if anything gets me angry, it's probably looking at that. It's probably when people think that they have to mold themselves to be somebody that they are absolutely not in order to attract somebody. And then they start playing these games like, I don't know, like I won't, you know, if I feel like, you know, I'm thinking about this person or I'm connected to this person, oh, I'm not going to say that because, you know, I'm just going to wait because I texted last time or whatever. These games, it's just like, you know, just be all of who you are. You know, do what you love. Get attached to what inspires you. And when you can do that, you know, you're going to find people who are like-minded, who love all of who you are, you know, and stop pretending. And I absolutely love how you express that, Caden. It is so spot on. And I think that, you know, when we can be authentic, you know, that is actually what attaches our hearts. You know, that's how we get connected to other people. It's through authenticity. It's through showing your realness. You know, nothing is more enlivening to the soul than being authentic and seeing another person be truly real and authentic, I think. That's me personally, but I think it's kind of the human experience. You know, authenticity is so super attractive. And, you know, the more authentic we become within ourselves, the more it's such a turn off and such a realization when people are just kind of playing this game and pretending to be somebody that they're not. You know, I don't think we can waste our time on that. So don't waste your energy and don't waste theirs. You know, just show up, be real, be a leader in your realness and your authenticity, and trust that, you know, why would you want anybody to fall in love with a pretense of who you are? You know, all that does is serve to prove to yourself that you're not lovable for all of who you really are, and you're going to have to keep trying to play this game, this fallacy, and all it does is diminish your self-worth. So be real, be all of who you are, and do that from the beginning, and ultimately you'll get to experience the truth of love, which is all sides. You know, let all sides come out early and give people an opportunity to love you for who you are. I absolutely love that, Kaden. You are amazing. And Jordan, loving that you do meditation. That's always good. And Matthew, and have you ever done Gyan Mudra? No, I haven't, Jordan. But if it's something of value you think I should check out, I'd love for you to share something with me. Share me a link to tell me what that's all about. Or if you're in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle, share it with the whole community. We'd love anything that might be of value to take us to a new level. So thanks for sharing, Jordan. And Matthew's here, and Moises, and Donald from Iowa. I love it. And Anthony and Jamie saying, what would I be without fear in my life and in the world has helped me when I feel fearful. Absolutely. Yes, definitely. I like to say, if I could have it all my way, if I had no limitations, no expectations, no filters, how would I love it to be? And so I definitely agree with you there, Jamie. That's awesome. And I love that that's been helpful for you. And Lou's here, and Abhishek, and Jordan, yes. Yeah, calm is really good for meditating. And Tim, you're so welcome. And Marco. And Dennis is here. Be real or be alone. Yeah, that's so true. Even if you're in a relationship, if you're not being real, you feel alone, you know, because you're not expressing the truth of who you are. You know, you're just kind of this empty projection of who you're trying to be to get love. And maybe people are connecting with that, but that's why you feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people in your life. So absolutely, Dennis. Love that you're bringing that to the equation. And Sam, how's the editing? Oh, thank you for asking. I'm really struggling. I thought it was my internet, and this is why I need some team members who love technology and things like that, because what I found, I think that my computer has had too much on the hard drive, so I'm deleting a bunch of stuff and I'm trying to upload, and I've been trying for 3 days to get this out to you guys. It's my biggest drain in my life right now. So if you have any expertise on how to move big files, to be able to send them, if you can let me know, if you've got some expertise there, I would so appreciate your help. I'm trying to work it out on my own, and I'm not doing a great job at it, I hate to say. But thank you, Sam, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's driving me insane that I can't get it out to you right now. And Hassani, learning that it's so important to guard for infatuation. There was a time when I did fully understand the drawbacks to it, but now I see that it keeps you from seeing and loving the whole person. Dr. D, open my eyes and you're driving it home. Awesome, V. Awesome, Hass. And absolutely, you know, it feels good to have that infatuation, but in the long run, it's really doing yourself and another person a disservice. And you're only going to end up disappointed. And I love how DeMartini does this, because he so doesn't want anybody to put him on a pedestal, and he's constantly showing you both sides in his events. I was really blown away. you know, and I love that because it's so real, you know, to not try and mold some perception of yourself and actually just be all of who you are. You know, there's times when you're going to be angry, not always positive, you know, and all those sort of things. And particularly, you know, I get that message from my clients all the time when I'm working with them and I'm sharing what's going on in my world that relates to what's going on for them and different parts of my journey and story. They're the parts when I'm talking about my struggles, you know, and I'm constantly going through different struggles. Getting this DeMartini episode is one of my current struggles. I can't get it online, and I can't send it, which is driving me insane, right? And when you share authentically, I mean, I know that's not really a great example. It's just very, very surface level. But when you share authentically and you know that you've got both sides and you stop people from putting you on a pedestal thinking you're just all good, which ultimately just attracts criticism. It's the science behind it to ultimately bring you back into balance, humble you, and, you know, do that for yourself and do it for others in a loving way by loving them for the whole part of who they are, not just one-sidedness. So I always love hearing that, Haas and Sergio, and absolutely, Dennis, real is beautiful. Nothing more beautiful, I think. And, Dehindra, thank you for being here. And, Kaden, same here. I hate games like that. Real will always outlast fake. Always a pleasure catching you live. You starlit goddess, you. Thank you for those kind words there, Kaden. And absolutely couldn't agree with you more. Games are so boring. They're such a turn off. And Gurmeet's here. And Kaden, Google Drive, that's what I'm trying to use. Maybe it's my internet. And proper formatting can get the video online. Contact me and I'll answer any tech questions you may have with pleasure. Kaden, youarethebomb.com. I can't wait to chat with you about this because it is really, I really want to get it out there for you guys. So I would so appreciate having a chat about that with you. And Pia, fully agree with your take on this. I have to let go of a couple of what I had thought could have been good partners, but because I didn't want to play any games. If he can't see my soul, my inner beauty without me trying really hard, it is just not the right person. Yeah, Pia, and you know, making sure that when we're in relationship, making sure that we want to be loved for all of who we are and making sure that we're doing the same for that other person and giving them an opportunity to meet us where we're at and grow and evolve together. I think we're all just human beings with egos and we can really struggle with being able to love both sides of ourselves and let alone another human being. And so, you know, we really need to definitely come to a place where we can get to that place. And, you know, if somebody can't meet us on that journey, if we've given them opportunity and we know we're doing the work to love all of who they are, you know, sometimes we do need to move on from that. And that's not a bad thing. You know, everybody in our lives is here to teach us something valuable about ourselves and definitely about life and love. So thank you so much for sharing, Pia. And Jamie, thank you, sending love to all Raise the Vibe. I love it. Thank you. And absolutely, Jordan. All right. That is my message for you guys today. I hope that it is of value. I hope that it's got you thinking about whether you've been in love or whether you're actually experiencing true love. True love is always going to be being able to synchronize both sides, not expect somebody to just be one-sided. They're going to be all things. And until you can love without limit, love without condition, love them for the whole spectrum of who they really are, and you've got to be able to do that for yourself to be able to get to that place to do with another person, you're not really going to experience the true depth of love and what you're capable of. So I will send you guys all my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you to wherever you are in the world today. I absolutely hope that it's beautiful and amazing. I hope you're doing something extraordinary, and I hope today's message has given you a new perspective to get you closer to experiencing the true depths of love. And Kaden, Thanks for the incredible message. Your light is contagious. Love, light, and freedom to you. Thank you so much, Caden. Much, much love to you. And Ramon, it's always a pleasure learning from all of your followers and your knowledge. Thank you so much, Ramon. You are super appreciated. And Tanya, you've just joined. I hope you catch a recording and get a ton of value from today's message. As always, guys, sending you all of my love, and I cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow.